A Letter from Scotland by Fiona Tinker for the Pooka Pages. This is a letter from Scotland. Dear little witches, Attila the Bun and Meg the cat, with half a tail, sat together underneath their favorite bush looking out at the snow-covered land around them. Everything looked so pretty. The mound of the She was covered with fresh white snow. The fairy thorn that grew from the top of it was decorated with icicles, which sparkled in the winter sunlight. It was very beautiful, very still, and very peaceful. It was also very, very, very cold. I have something important to do, said Attila. Something that will start the story of the next part of the year. I'll do it in a minute. Meg was a little surprised at this. It wasn't like Attila to take his time when he knew there was work to be done. Attila was more of a up-and-at-it rabbit. However, it was quite cozy under the bush, and Meg could well understand why Attila might not want to plod through the snow. It was deep enough when you were a cat. Being Attila must be so much worse because rabbits were so much closer to the ground. Meg shivered in sympathy at the thought, said nothing, and just waited for something to happen. Attila sighed contentedly. What can you hear? He asked. Nothing, replied Meg. No. Listen hard, said Attila. Meg closed his eyes and concentrated. Faintly in the distance, he could hear birds. Firstly, he could hear the chirp, 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 chirp of the pied wagtails. The gods alone knew what they could be talking about, but it was definitely a long and excited conversation. Over the blather of the wagtails came the whir, whirree, whirree, whirree sound of the curlews, calling to each other from the edges of the shores and the wetlands. Finally, there was the high-pitched beep-ee, beep-ee, beep-ee of the Oyster Catchers happily gossiping to each other. They're certainly having a good conversation, said Meg. But what are they saying? Attila turned to look at Meg. All this time you've been hanging around with me, jumping from the human world to the other world, and you've not learned anything about any other folks' languages? Really? Meg had the grace to look a little ashamed. It was true. He hadn't really tried to understand others in their own tongues because generally others could speak to him in his. Somewhere in the depths of his little cat brain, he knew that this wasn't right or fair. But cats are cats, and he knew he could never be seen to be wrong about anything. Meg haughtily tossed his head back and said, No. Shame, stated Attila. You're missing out on so much interesting stuff. With that, Attila closed his eyes, pricked up his long rabbit ears again, and, ignoring Meg, got on with listening hard. Now, one thing that everyone knows about cats is how nosy they are. After all, didn't curiosity kill the cat? Meg tried to pretend he wasn't interested, but he simply couldn't stand it for too long. He just had to know what the birds were gossiping about. He waited for 10 minutes. They were 10 very long minutes, in which all the birds carried on talking, and Attila the Bun carried on listening. Finally, he said quietly, Please tell me what they're saying. Meow. Attila looked at him, sighed, and said, They are telling each other it is time for the fair woman of February to return. They are singing to Bridget of the Shores and asking for her blessing. The birds are making plans to celebrate and nest and build when she returns. The fair woman of February? Bridget of the Shores? Asked Meg. Do they mean Brita? Yes, they do. Gods and goddesses have many names and titles. Yes, but the fair woman of February? Breathe has a redhead, exclaimed Meg. The look on Attila's face made him wish he'd kept his mouth shut. It's poetry, Attila stated baldly. Just poetry. Brita is the goddess of poetry, of fire, and of new life, remember? She'll bring the spring and begin the banishment of the Kalach's winter rule. Now, ever since the old woman of winter made Meg some bannocks, he felt a little less scared and a little more fond of her. That's a shame, he said. She's not that bad. Not that bad, squeaked Attila the Bun. Look at it. It's cold. It's freezing. It's snowy. Nothing grows. Nothing's born. Nothing's happening. There's no milk and practically no cheese left. It's been like this 4 months. Oh, yeah? Spat Meg. Well, the Kalach's still not that bad. She's a story and a goddess, screeched Attila the Bun. The Kalach has to take her place in the story of the year, just like Brita does, just like Angus Og does. Attila the Bun glared at Meg the cat with half a tail. Meg the cat with half a tail glowered back at Attila the Bun. At the point where it seemed as if the two friends were about to have a serious falling out, they were startled by a horrible, loud noise coming from the fairy thorn. Astonished, both the little friends forgot their quarrel and stared at the tree. Sitting on one of the branches was a crow. It was a huge crow, and it didn't look any different from any other crow, except it looked very sorry for itself. What did you say? Asked Attila. Croaked the crow. The crow carried on making its racket, loudly and harshly, telling Attila the Bun about its ills and woes. Attila listened attentively. He looked like he wanted to laugh and was trying really hard not to. Meg was just dumbfounded. Eventually the crow stopped his noises. Meg took his chance to ask a question. I'm no expert in languages, as you so kindly pointed out, Attila, said Meg. But don't crows normally say, caw, caw? The crow gave Meg a haughty look and flew off. Attila the Bun burst into rabbit laughter. He laughed so hard, tears were rolling down his little cheeks. He rolled around on the ground, hooting and hollering and ha-ha-haing and hee-hee-ing. Oh, that is just too good a story, he managed to gasp out. What is? Squealed Meg. Tell me, please. What was wrong with that crow? Why did it sound so funny? Oh, you wouldn't believe me, laughed Attila, but it's got a sore throat. That stupid bird tried to have an argument with the Kalach. It did? For sure. Apparently, he was scratching around a piece of earth where the snow had melted, hoping to find something to eat. The Kalach was storming around trying to make it winter again. The crow actually said to the Kalach that he was really looking forward to seeing the back of her and her shenanigans when Angus and Brita return. That was bold of him, exclaimed Meg, taken aback by the crow's bravery in saying such a thing to the Kalach. Wasn't it just? Laughed Attila. What did she say? Asked Meg. She didn't, answered Attila. She just took her hammer, the big one that stops the grass from growing and freezes the earth, and she whacked the ground with it. That doesn't sound so bad, said Meg quizzically. Yes, but at the exact moment she froze the earth, the crow was pulling a worm out of it. The worm froze solid, and the crow swallowed it. Now he has a dreadfully sore throat, and he can't speak properly. Screeched Attila through laughter. The two little friends collapsed into fits of giggles, imagining the scene between the Kalach and the crow. They laughed and chortled for a long time, each taking turns at imitating the noise of the crow with a sore throat. Finally, they stopped, although they knew it wouldn't take much to start them off again. Then Meg said, "Wasn't there something you needed to do?" "Oh, no!" exclaimed Attila the Bun. "I nearly forgot! I have to find the first snowdrop and use it to wake Angus Og." With that, Attila the Bun began to glow, and Meg the Cat's half a tail began to buzz. Both were a sign of magic in the air. Usually, Meg's tail buzzing with magic meant trouble, but somehow he knew that this time it was just buzzing with magic. Attila knew he would find the special snowdrop, the first one of spring, and when he did, the story of the year would move away from its winter chapter. What was so special about the first snowdrop, though? Well, the magical little flower grew on a ley line, and the ley line linked the land to the home of the earth goddess, Ochel. It was this quiet goddess who watched over Angus Og as he dreamed the winter away. It was Ochel who woke him when it was time for both Brita and Angus to return to Scotland in the spring. But it needed a magical rabbit to let the great earth goddess, Ochel, know when the time of awakening was. It was Attila's special Imbolc job to let Ochel know the land was calling for Brita and her blessings. Attila would do this by thumping on the ground where the first snowdrop of spring grew on its ley line. His thumping would echo through all the ley lines of the world, reminding Ochel and Angus that the wheel of the year was turning, and it was time for a new story, the coming of Angus and Brita. Brita, too, would hear the vibrations in the earth and know it was time for her to bring back light and warmth and inspiration to her people. The Kalach would also hear the snowdrop alarm and know that her rule over the land would soon be at an end. She knew, too, that even an ancient, important goddess such as she could not stop the world from turning, no matter how much she wished it. And while these thoughts were in the minds of the great goddesses of Scotland, they listened, awaiting the snowdrop alarm. Meanwhile, a lazy rabbit and an indolent cat lolled around under a bush near the mound of the Sidhe, contemplating their next steps. "You know where to find the snowdrop?" asked Meg. "I do," answered Attila the Bun. "Give me 5 more minutes and I'll go discover it." Then he added, "You realize there's no bannocks. There's no one around to make them for you." Meg the cat with half a tail yawned and stretched. "Oh, there is," he said. "Just not here." With that, he twizzled his stumpy tail, and the world was filled with purple light that opened the gate between the other world and the human world. Meg jumped back through to his human home. The two friends parted happily and at peace with each other. Meg the cat, with half a tail, now back in the human world, strutted off in search of his pet human. It would be easy to convince her to make him a bannock. It always was. Attila the Bun, in the other world, hopped through the snow toward the first snowdrop of spring that would awaken the gods of summer half of the year from their deep winter sleep. And over the lands of the two worlds, a small, quiet winter wind whispered words of thanks to Ochel in an old poem that praised the one who kept the land safe while summer slept. I dreamed of Ochel, the dim goddess, who is under the brown earth in a vast cavern, where she weaves at 2 looms. With one hand she weaves life upward through the green grass. With the other she weaves downward through the mold. And the sound of the weaving is eternity. And the name of it in the green world is time. And through all, Altchel weaves the weft of eternal beauty that passes not, though its soul is change. By Fiona McLeod. May Bridget, Brita, the fair woman of February, Bridget of Shores, bless your dreams. Happy Imbolc. Till next time, Fiona Tinker. Don't forget to head over to Pooka Pages to get the entire Imbolc 2021 issue for free. Also, if you'd like to know how the real birds in this story would sound, I'm going to try to put a link in the description box.